Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out XCN's price chart. And in case that you didn't watch the previous update, you should know that in XCN, overall in the mid to long term, I am still 1000% bullish. Why? Because I fully believe still that off of the lowest low we are having from here, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up into a larger degree wave 1, followed by probably an ABC flat into wave 2, and this is a very strong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave, which is one very important characteristic of, you know it, a wave 3 on a higher degree, and followed by that, in my view, whatever move on the downside that we are having, odds are it's just going to be a correction into wave 4, and what's next if this count is happening? You know the answer, another big move up into wave 5. So if your question is about having a very strong move by the end of this cycle, I think you already got your answer here. Now, what about the midterm structures? Let's zoom in more. Okay. You see, even in the midterm, I think we are allowed to be optimistic in ONYX coin. Why? Let's go on H4 time frame. Okay. So this point is the recent lowest low, which happened on April 6th. Now, what do we have off of it? Very strong move in form of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a good sign suggesting maybe the low is already in, and followed by that, I think this is a correction structure. So here is what I have to say. I believe in XCN, we are having 5 up into 1, correction for wave 2, and what's next if this count is happening? You know the answer, after our correction is over, a huge move up into wave 3, 4, 5 in order to complete the subwaves for this larger degree wave 5 right in here. So long term, very much bullish. Midterm, also very much optimistic. What about the short term price action? And that unfortunately can be a bit of a different story. Let's go on 30-minute time frame. Okay, so in XCN, starting from this point about, let's say, the 2 cents area, we can have different counts. For example, one scenario suggests that we are having a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave impulsive structure down, which means this is actually the beginning of a move on the downside, hopefully a correction structure. So if this count is happening, it means number one, in the short term, we can expect some sort of a move up, but odds are that move is just going to be a correction structure and not an impulse, possibly in order to have a retest of this level. And then what are we going to have? Well, yet another move on the downside. The other count suggests maybe instead of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are on our way to complete the subwaves for a WXY in form of a double zigzag. And here is our first ABC down into wave W, followed by an ABCDE. We talked about this in extreme details into this wave X. And from here, we can say maybe we are having yet another A, B, C zigzag down, and in terms of the subwaves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into A, correction for wave B, maybe ABC, maybe WXY, and then yet another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the downside. Now let's go on the live chart and see what is happening. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about XCN, we were right around these areas, and the idea was that there's actually a good chance, because this is sort of kind of a slow and choppy move up, we are most likely going to get yet another move on the downside, and we are finally getting it. Now, if this is an ABC, then okay, I think we can all safely assume that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into A, followed by, I'm gonna say now, probably, yep, an A, B, C zigzag up to about the highest side, which is right in here, into our B leg. There we go. And then we are probably having, starting from this point, a wave 1, correction for wave 2. This is most likely a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down into wave 3, followed by a correction for 4, another move down into wave 5. So what is it that I'm trying to say? I'm trying to tell you, in the next 3, 4, maybe even 5 days, odds are this move is going to continue a little bit more. But here's the situation. This isn't actually the main point of today's video. No. In this update, we are specifically going to talk about this shadow right in here. And why is this important? Let's go around here. Okay. If you are a regular viewer of the channel, you probably know what I'm about to say. You see, if you want to argue that we're going to have our final low around here, maybe this is like a very important support, then okay, you need to be able to find off of the lowest low, then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up. Now, this specific example is called an impulse. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, wave 3 is simply not allowed to be the smallest wave. Now, we can also have other kinds of 5 waves, and in one example, we can have something called a leading diagonal in form of a wedge, and it's like this. This is our initial move up into wave 1, and it has to be the biggest wave in this structure, followed by a correction for wave 2, another move up into wave 3. It must be smaller than 1, correction for 4, it has to be smaller than wave 2, and here's the point. Unlike this impulsive structure, in here we must have overlapping of the waves between our corrective movements, and this is our final move up into wave 5, which has to be the smallest wave. And also, let's just draw the lines for it. Okay, as you can see by the shape of the pattern, this is exactly why we call this thing a wedge. Now, we can also have another 5 wave called an expanding leading diagonal, and in that case, we're going to have basically the opposite of this thing right in here, meaning this is our initial move up into wave 1. This time, unlike this pattern, it has to be the smallest wave. Correction for 2, another move up into wave 3. It has to be bigger than wave 1. Correction for 4. We must still have overlapping of the waves, but this time wave 4 is actually bigger than wave 2. And this is our final move up into wave 5, which is the biggest wave. And the reason for why we call this thing an expanding leading diagonal is because, as you can see by the lines, it actually expands as it goes forward. There we go. Now, why is this so important? Let's go now on the live chart in XCN and count some waves and tell you why that shadow actually matters quite a bit. So, as you can see, I think we can all say that we are clearly having overlapping of the waves between this move down and also this move on the downside. Now, why is this so important? You see, if you want to be bullish in XCN and you want to say the short-term low is already in, then okay, are you able to say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up into a wave 1, followed by a correction for wave 2, and after it's over, we may see like a very strong move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5? Well, the answer is, let's actually check different possibilities and come up with our own answer. So, since we are having overlapping of the waves, this narrows our option to either a leading diagonal in form of a wedge or maybe an expanding leading diagonal. And let's check out our corrections, but before that, first things first, you need to put your chart on regular scale. I'm going to keep saying this in every single video. There's simply no measuring waves on logarithmic. It's very, very important to understand that. Now, let's measure our wave 2 to about this point and compare it to our supposedly wave 4. As you can see, wave 2 is clearly bigger than 4, meaning this actually narrows our option now to only and only a leading diagonal in form of a wedge. Now, in a leading diag, what did we say earlier? Wave 1 has to be the biggest wave. So with that said, let's measure it from this point to about here and compare it to the other waves. Is it actually bigger than wave 5 by like a very small margin? The answer is yes. Is it also bigger than wave 3? The answer, as you can see, is absolutely not. And it actually comes down to this shadow right in here. You see, when you go on some other charts, this shadow is actually a bit smaller. And in those charts, you can actually argue that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in form of a wedge, and basically the low is at. However, on this chart from trading view, that's absolutely not the case. I think we can all agree on that. So what is it that I'm trying to say? You see, we said in the short term, this move on the downside is going to continue a little bit, but I really do not want to see ONYX coin taking this low down here about, let's say, 1.3 cents. Why? Because if we do take the lows in here, at that point, I'm gonna say a lot of people are going to call this pattern up either an ABC or maybe a WXY, generally some sort of a correction. And the problem is that I actually do see a good argument for those counts to be in play. So in the interest of remaining very much bullish and optimistic still, let's please not take this low in XCN And from these areas, let's have a very strong move in form of, you guessed it right, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in order for us to remain absolutely optimistic and not call for some more downward price action. Now, what if we do go down and take the loss? At that point, I'm telling you right now, please count on some more downward price action in order to possibly take this low down here as well, about 1.2 cents. I'm not going to say this is going to like absolutely happen. No, there is no certainty in any market. We are only talking about what is possible, but you need to consider that possibility. So in case it happens, you're not going to be surprised at all. And here's a problem. If we are going to take this low, there's like a major issue. You see, under here, I am really not able to find a whole lot of strong important supports or maybe gaps until where? Until all the way down here between 0.8 of a cent to about 1 cent area. So in ONYX coin, if this move down is going to continue, and in it, we're going to take this low, and especially this low down here. At that point, I think you need to probably count on like, let's say, sure, another 20 to possibly even, according to the worst case scenario, 30% move on the downside, which will not be ideal. But if you do not really care about the short-term price action, I'm thinking that's probably going to be a great buying opportunity for you. Why? Because essentially you are buying XCN around the lows in here, and after this whole corrective movement starting from the highest side is over, what are we going to have? Again, like we talked about it, another magnificent move up into wave 5, and the bare minimum target for it, this is important, pay attention, just the bare minimum target for that move is going to be taking the highest high about 5 cents region. I think we can also consider maybe an extension structure. And by the way, I think I didn't talk about the concept of extension. You see, extension suggests between wave 1, 3, and 5, one of these waves are going to get massively extended. And in crypto market, we sort of kind of do have a habit of extensions happening into wave 5. So if this is going to get extended, then okay, I think you need to sort of kind of forget about the 5 cents area, because at that point targets are going to be maybe around 10 to even 20 cents, meaning your risk to reward ratio in this trade for the long term can be even possibly 1 to 20, which is insanely good. So long-term scenarios, absolutely bullish. Short-term possibility, all eyes on the lows and see are we going to take them or not. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in XCN's chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.